Hello, it is Mac here, and today I'm talking about the best medic weapon in Battlefield 1. So pretty much this is going to be a comparison between all four of the semi-automatic rifles in Battlefield 1, at least in the beta. And pretty much in the beta, I have been playing a lot of medic. It has to be my most played class. Maybe support is second, but really, medic is very fun. And I feel like it's a mix between being able to heal and revive people, you know, just even healing yourself, but also healing your teammates. And the weapons are really good in this class. I have seen a few people say that they don't like them, but for me, I adore them. There's just something so satisfying whenever you get a kill with these weapons, but there's just something so good about these weapons. And I want to talk about my favorite today and kind of do a comparison between all four. However, before we get into here, this is all subject to change. With, you know, nerfs and buffs to the battle rifles, as well as we've only seen 4 battle rifles in Battlefield 1, so just keep that in mind. I'm sure once we get able to customize our weapons, because here we can only have variants, but really once we get the full weapon set, then I may do an update video. We'll have to wait and see if there is like a clear winner there. And first off, let's talk about the C Recoil, which I may be saying wrong. I'm probably going to say some of these names wrong for these weapons. But really, it's the first weapon you unlock, and it's not too bad. It really isn't. And I'm going to show the stats on the screen of this weapon, as well as the other weapons once we talk about those. And these stats are coming from Synthic. They pretty much showcase all the stats in these weapons. They've done it for a long time with a lot of different Battlefields and other games in general. So shout out to them, because they, you know, go through the code, get these weapon stats, and I'm going to be showcasing them in this video. So this weapon does a damage of 38 up till 20 meters, and then drops off to 26.5 at about 50 meters. So really, the damage isn't too bad. It's going to mostly 3-shot people, which is pretty nice, and most of these weapons will 3-shot people. Maybe if you hit them in the limbs and stuff, it may take 4, but for the most part, it's going to 3-shot people, which is not too bad. The weapon has a 300 RPM, with a muzzle velocity, which if you don't know what that means, that's how fast your bullets actually move through the air. That'll be 660 meters per second. So the actual reload's a little bit weird in this game, at least for the clip-fed weapon, which is for this weapon as well as another Marksman rifle, which pretty much what it means is each clip is 5 rounds. So this weapon holds 10 rounds, and that means if you fire all your shots, it will take 1.5 seconds for each clip, which will total out to 3 seconds. That is if you have an empty mag, or if you only fire 5 shots, leaving with you to only put in 1 clip. If you haven't fired 5 rounds and you haven't put a clip in at all, then what will happen is you will need to put in each bullet individually. So that will take 7 seconds for the first bullet, but then 5 seconds afterward. So pretty much what it means is if you fire all 10 shots in this weapon, it'll take 3 seconds to reload, because you only got to put 2 clips in. But if you fire 9 rounds, it'll actually take longer, because it'll take 1.5 seconds to put the 5 round clip in. Then it will take another 2 seconds to put those extra 4 shots in. So just keep that in mind. It's a little bit something to think about. You know, really the best case scenario with clip fired weapons is just fire off all your shots, or at least fire off 5. Then the reload's gonna be quicker, and that was something that kind of bothers me a little bit about this weapon. Like, I feel like I always have to think about that. I always have to be mindful of, well, you know, how many shots do I have? And usually I'm just so, you know, used to just press X. No matter what, just press X and reload. But with this weapon, it's a little bit different, so you have to keep that in mind. You may even want to waste a few shots to get a faster reload. Just keep that in mind. And as for the recoil, it's not too bad. It's pretty much 0.32 for the side, and then 0.7 up. So not too bad for recoil. And personally, I like the artillery version more. Although the artillery version isn't that much different. It's just kind of got a sight on it. It has a few small stat changes with like spread and stuff, but not too big of a deal. And that weapon's kind of good, but I don't know if I'd call it my favorite. Next up is a pretty fun weapon, which is the M1907. Now, there are 2 versions of this. One is automatic, and then one is factory. Now, it says that both of these fire at 300 rounds per minute, but I don't know if that's the case. Like, the automatic one feels slower. So really, I'm a bigger fan of the factory one, but if you can correct me, and if you like actually know if the automatic one fires just as fast. So however, the automatic one isn't too bad if you are not a fan of the semi-automatic fire. This weapon does 43 damage to about 10 meters, and then close to 40 it'll drop down to 21. So this one does not do too much damage. Once you get out to a long range, it's going to take 4 shots to kill a fully, health target. But up close, it can do a lot of damage. This is probably the best marksman rifle up close. Like, if you're up close, you can pretty much destroy anybody with this weapon because of that high rate of fire, and you can take on a lot of enemies if you're at close range. If not, this weapon's not going to be too great at long range. The versions in the beta only have iron sights, which iron sights aren't too terrible, but at the same time, they're a little bit harder to use at longer range. What's good about this weapon is, unlike the C. Rigoti, it is mag fed. Pretty much like a lot of other guns, not only in this game, but also in past Battlefield, modern Battlefields and stuff. Pretty much, it's 2.3 seconds, no matter how many shots you have, unless it's empty. If it's empty, it will take 3.5 seconds, but if you even have 1 shot left in the magazine, it'll take 2.3 seconds to reload, which isn't too bad. It's not too bad there, and it has 21 shots in the mag. Not too bad there. The recoil is also a little bit less on the automatic version, but however, the factory version is not too much worse. It's equal left and right pull to 0.42, and in 0.8 upwards recoil. So, not too bad of a weapon there. I personally just like that to use in close range combat. So next up, let's talk about the Selbstadler M1916. Now, I probably said that wrong as well. This one, the first one you actually unlock is a scoped version. So it's the sharpshooter variant. But I don't really like the scoped versions of these weapons. The next weapon will also have a scope that comes with it. And to me, like, if you like sniping in this game, or you want to stay at a long distance, it's probably good. But for me, whenever I'm playing as medic, I'm on the field. I don't want to be back in the back of the map. And if I was doing that, I'd probably just play a sniper role. These weapons can be kind of good for suppressive fire, but at the same time, there's some scoped LMGs that are probably better at suppressive fire. So personally, I don't really like those variants. I just go with the artillery version, which fires at 224 rounds per minute and has a muzzle velocity of 800 meters. So this one does 40 damage to 20 meters and then drops out at about 30 meters to 35 damage. So pretty much is always going to be a 3-shot kill, at least if you hit a body shot. And that's not too bad for a 3-shot kill. So pretty much this weapon's very consistent, and that's one thing I love about this weapon. So the reload whenever you have at least 1 bullet left in the magazine is 2.37 seconds. However, if you fire all your shots, it'll take almost double that at 4.3 seconds. So a total 2 seconds longer if you just are empty. I don't know really why, but I don't find that too big of a deal because I don't find myself firing all the shots in this weapon. Because you got 21 shots, you can 3-shot people at pretty much any distance, and to me, that's not too bad. And I don't see myself running out of ammo with this weapon too often because 21 semi-auto shots. Personally, I try to reload before I run out of ammo, but if you do, you're probably going to be caught with your pants down because 4.3 seconds is not too good. And then the recoil is not too bad on this weapon as well. It's both equal pull to the left and the right, and pretty much all of these marksman rifles have equal pull to the left and right, which is probably one reason I love them. There's a lot more vertical recoil on these weapons, but to the left and right, not too much on most of these weapons. And for this, to be 0.3, not too bad. And then it's a 1 pull up. So it's got a little bit of recoil, but not too much. And this may be my favorite overall. Like, just the damage that this does, as well as the fact that it's mag-fed, which I just love the mag-fed weapons more than the ones that are fed through a clip. Because, you just have to worry about a lot more with those to make sure that you do fire in 5s. So you do want to make sure that you reload at 5 or 0 shots to get a faster reload. And with those clip-fed weapons, I feel like I have to reload a lot more, and I feel like I get killed a lot while reloading. Because those weapons are good in one-on-one situations. Maybe 2 people you can kill, but this is Battlefield. There's in Conquest, there's 32 enemies, and your squads that roll together. So really, if you're trying to just play by yourself and you're not really playing with a squad, which I guess could kind of be contradictory to playing a medic, but if you're not in like a communicating squad, that's probably going to happen quite a bit. You know, squads don't really stick together unless they are communicating like a party or something. And whenever I'm running solo, I love this weapon because I feel like I can take out a full squad with this weapon. Maybe I'll have to throw a few grenades in there. Maybe I'll have to melee a few people. Maybe I'll even have to take out my pistol, which isn't too bad. Although, once you do get a reload, if it is empty, you're probably not going to be too great. Although, by that point, you've probably killed most people, so you can probably just switch to your pistol or maybe melee a few people. And it's not too bad. I love this weapon, and this may be my favorite. But first, let's move on to the next weapon, which is the Mondragn. Now, this weapon has pretty much the same stats as the Selbstadler, and it has a bit different recoil. It has actually lower recoil by a lot. This thing does not have much recoil comparatively to the Selbstadler. And however, it is clip fed, and the reload on this is not too great, especially if you do have to single load bullet. So pretty much if you put in one total clip of 5 rounds, that'll be 1.13 seconds, which is lower than the C Rigoti. So if you fire all 10 rounds of this weapon, it will take a little over 2 seconds, so not too bad there. However, if you don't, which this weapon I like a lot more at longer ranges because of that lower fire rate, but at the same time it has a lot of damage, then that's pretty good. But that'll take 0.7 seconds for the first bullet, you know, the first single bullet, but then every bullet after will be 0.53 seconds, so a little bit higher than the C Rigoti, but not too much. But for the most part, I love this weapon more for longer ranges. I haven't used that too much because, like I said, I don't really use scoped weapons as the medic too much because I like to be close to the action. However, this is probably the best weapon if you do want to play that sort of sniper role, but at the same time you kind of want to be a medic, and you want to have like a Marksman rifle instead. This is probably the best weapon. It doesn't have much recoil. The rate of fire isn't that bad. It is a little bit faster than the Selbstadler, and I'd say this is probably the best sniper of these bunch. You know, it's not really a sniper rifle, but at the same time, it can kind of be used as a sniper, and that is very nice. And both the Selbstadler and the Mondragn are very, very cool because they're so consistent. You know, pretty much always a 3-shot kill at any range, maybe even higher if you get a headshot, maybe even, you know, 2 shots if you get a headshot. I'm not too sure how much damage a headshot does in this game, honestly. So for my take, personally, I think I like the Selbstadler the most. It's got a pretty low rate of fire comparatively to the others. However, just the magazine, I feel like I can do so much more with that, and the damage is nice. And I like that, although I did recently go back to the M1907, which I didn't really like too much at first, but if you use it at close range, it can destroy people. You know, it just has a high rate of fire and good damage, but at the same time, I don't feel like it's the most versatile. At longer ranges, I feel like I have to just put a lot of shots downrange, and I feel like I'm not really hitting as many people as with the Mondragn or the Selbstadler. I feel like I hit a lot more people and I do a lot more damage. Those weapons feel more beefy, whereas the M1907 feels a little bit more like an assault rifle or like an assault weapon. So just keep that in mind. However, that weapon's not too bad at closer range if you do want to have that medic role. However, at the opposite end of the spectrum, the Mondragn's the best long range weapon. And then I guess you also have the C Rigoti, but I don't really like that weapon too much. There's something about it, I don't like it as much. It's not a bad weapon, but I like the other weapons a little bit more for some reason. However, these weapons all feel pretty similar. With a few, you know, minor recoil differences, a bit of different damage, magazines, and I know I haven't gone through every single stat on these weapons, but they're not too much different. I feel like some of the other classes have more variety in their weapon, you know, sort of selection, because you look at the assault class, those weapons feel completely different. Even the support class as well. Those weapons feel much more different than these weapons, and who knows? Maybe whenever the full game comes out, these weapons will be completely different, and maybe they'll be nerfed, maybe they'll be buffed. Maybe with more weapons, there will be a more clear winner. Although I kind of hope not, because I kind of feel unbalanced. And I do like how all these weapons are pretty balanced. At the same time, they kind of don't feel super unique. Although, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. What is your favorite weapon? Do you even have a favorite? Do you use them all? Or do you hate the Marksman rifles in this game? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. Hope you enjoyed 3x Suppression. I'll see you guys in the next video.